It's Saturday. I've been out for about 4 hours and it's been wet the whole time. So now it's probably a good time to tell you about my Mudguards. These are the Portland Design Works full metal fenders. The whole construction is metal, so rather than using plastic guards and just metal stays, the whole thing's metal. SKS do a similar sort of thing where they wrap the guard in plastic, but they're still a little bit flappy. These aren't, which is why you see only one stay per side on each wheel. These are the 30mm wide ones, supposedly for 23mm tyres. As you can see, I've got 28mm tyres and they just about fit, but the guards aren't an awful lot wider than the tyre. I guess what that does mean is that I'm not always completely dry. But I'll talk you through how I fitted them, because there was a lot of modification. So this bike, the mounts are in weird places. On the fork, rather than being down here at the axle, the mount is halfway up. So this stay I had to cut pretty much in half to put into that mount. Equally, I think these guys being a little bit old school for narrow, this one here is actually meant to mount to the front of the fork. As you can see, that little bit of tape there is where the holes used to be, and I had to move this here because it's meant to mount behind rim brake calipers, obviously. So move that there. What that does mean is that the guard flexes quite a bit at the front. So I have stuffed the inside of the fork with rubber and plastic and stuff to try and stop this from raising. It still does a little bit, but it'll do. I had to make this mount here, I had to make the slot a bit deeper so the mudguard sat kind of low enough, because it was just too high up. And then the mud flaps, the stock mud flaps, were pretty small. It came to about there. It was rubber and it was narrow and didn't really do much of a job, and it was pretty floppy, so if you did a sprint it would fold up into the inside of the guard and the tyre would melt its way through it. So I made this out of a couple of mountain bike enduro guards, I guess you'd call them, sandwiched together with bits of metal, I say bits of metal, bits of hacksaw blade. So one going down and then two going across, which is where you see that kind of fold. That's what holds that form. It makes it a little bit stiffer having the one going down, but as you can see it's bent back a little bit because I tried to go down a set of stairs and it caught. So at some point I'll bend that back. It still doesn't keep my feet entirely dry, in fairness. I think it needs to extend upwards as well. I'll see, I'm not a massively experienced mudguard user as yet. So that's the front. The rear though, there was quite a few kind of nuances because of how the frame is. So the CAAD13 frame comes with this plastic kind of seat stay bridge here, which is what you mount the kind of that bracket to. This bracket is actually used to be on a, you can see I've modified that a little bit, it looks terrible. This was on a massive arm that extends all the way round here. I would imagine this is meant to be mounted about there, and the mount goes over a rim brake caliper and then bolts on behind it. So I just lopped that straight off and just bolted it straight, so I drilled the hole wonky, but it is kind of fine. And then I also put that bit of rubber there on the frame because this rattled a bit. So that's that one. And then there's also a little bolt hole on the back of the seat tube here. So that there wasn't a hole for in the mudguard. So I drilled a hole, bolted that through, and then that's just basically some bongs off the tubeless valves in between there, just I guess to give it a little bit of movement if it needs to. Down there, I thought rather than cut that bit off, I'll just band it onto the seat tube anyway, even though the seat tube's not round, because that's quite a long distance to not have braced. I thought I'd better brace it. And you can see actually there's your hole, which is for mounting behind the BB. There isn't that kind of mount on this, so I guess actually the guard should be a little bit higher and a little bit further round. Again, down there I had to cut this stay down quite a bit because the mount is here rather than here, so that got cut down a fair amount. Not terribly so. And then I fashioned this light mount where that straps on. So this little bracket here, I just put a longer bolt on the top, attach that to a GoPro mount, which attaches to this 76 Projects light mount for the exposure, whatever this is, trace. So that's that. I took the mud flap off of the rear because I don't ride with anyone, so I don't cover anyone in mud, and again that just kept getting stuck in the wheel, so I took that off completely. And that is pretty much it. I thought it would take me probably longer to go through all of that because it did take me about 6 hours to fit them, but yeah, they're the Mudguards. If you've got a CAAD13, probably still buy these, but probably buy the 37mm wide ones, because they will fit, maybe not on a small frame, but they will fit on a bigger one, and they will give you better coverage, and you'll still be dry where I'm not.